Om Vishuddha Sutam Devam Kamsachanu Ramardanam Devaki Paramanandam Krishnam Mande Jagadgurum. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. We salute Bhagavan Sri Krishna, who is the son of Vasudeva, who is the destroyer of the demons like Kamsa and Chanura, and the dear darling of Mother Yashoda, and the Devaki Paramananda, Mother Devaki, and the Guru of the entire world. We salute him again and again. So we are back to our reading of the Bhagavat, and we are reading in the book 2, chapter 2, and verse number 22 we'll be starting today. Last time we read that how a yogi experiences how his departure from the world, how he will come and sit behind them so that I can see your face. Go little one step, left, space out, because we are still COVID situation, so little space out. So the yogi, how a yogi leaves the body, that was the discussion last time from verse number 15 of this chapter, second chapter, book 2, second chapter, 15 verse 2, that we read at the end of 21. So what it says, that spiritual aspirant then tries to control the energy up so that she restrains the energy not to go down, and then raises the consciousness one layer after another layer in the chakras, come to the heart chakra, and then goes up to the bottom of the neck. That is, up to that range is the heart chakra's range. And it moves from there to this chakra here, and then from the spine up the back, he is saying that he raises his consciousness higher up, and then let it go to the Brahmanda, that is the crown chakra. So the vital energy that resides in the navel, we read, that should be raised further to the chest, anahata, and united with the aspect of vital energy, which is prana energy residing there. It's called pranavayu, udana pranavayu. Then from there the aspirant should, with the help of his willpower, carefully raise the energy little by little to the root of the neck, that is Vishuddha chakra here. We saw it here normally, but it is the backside. So, and until, and unite with udana. Udana vayu is the upper side vayu. Udano, prana, apana, udana. So they are the function of the different functions of the same vital energy as force, prana vayu. Where is that boy? Horse? He doesn't know? The vital energy residing there. And from that point, the energy should be raised to the root of the tongue. That means this next chakra, which is the upper limit of the Vishuddha chakra. This chakra range up to with the upper limit, Vishuddha tongue, just below the tongue is here. And then that should be raised from there to the middle of the eyebrows, the Agna chakra. That means this chakra going down there. The 7 orifices, the orifices of the eyes, ear, nose and mouth should be then restrained to prevent, so the pranavayu energy does not get out through the ear to the eyes. So checking all these lower points of movement of the pranic energy, the yogi, because they practice their spiritual discipline, so they have the control and they check all those points, not the last vital energy should not get out through these lower planes of consciousness. And if one is without any desire, no desire for worldly things and even for God or heaven, heavenly enjoyment also, one stays there for a moment with his spiritual insight fully uncovered, and then piercing the Brahmarandra at the top of the crown, one leaves the body realizing oneness with the Supreme Being. So that is the greatest yogi who reach transcending their limitations from chakra to chakra to chakra to chakra, and restraining all the energy not to get out through any other chakra other than this crown chakra. So that we did the other day. So we start reading today from verse number 22 on page 100 of this book. What does it say? It says, how a yogi transcends different spheres up to Brahmaloka. There are also spiritual spheres raising the consciousness from one level to the other level to the Brahmaloka, the plane of the Brahman. So how that is possible, that is also is described here now. Good. So the world of becoming, which is the product of the combination of the gunas, prakriti, has several levels of regions. What it says, Bhagavat says, verse number 22, which is started, there are this world of becoming. This world has become. Don't sit that way. Hush, come, and the... No, you sit here. You sit in a way, no, in the back, or come here, this corner, so that we can see the face at the same time. So you are not using mask anymore? To try to use it, because we have recent, some of our nuns also got something there in the retreat. Better to keep it. I am doing it because I am now speaking, I cannot. Of course I have it in my pocket. So 22nd verse says that this world of becoming, what is this becoming means? Become. It was Brahman. Brahman has become the world. How it become? It becoming means in this, not only in the gross, but in the subtle level, there are planes of higher consciousness. Bhur bhuva swa, mahajana bhur bhuva swa, tatsavituna bhu bhuva swa, mahajana taposatya. So 7 planes they call higher and higher. And tala, tala, vitala, sutala, tala, tala, rasatala, patala. These are different planes. You know, we live in our own level of where our mind resides. Where is mind, we live in that consciousness. No? People can live in this world in a hell. Or people can live here in the contact of the divine entities day and night and totally absorbed in God and joy and bliss. Outside things are happening, it does not matter. Because they have the power to keep the mind in another level. So what it says here, this world of becoming, what is this world? Is the product of the combinations of the 3 gunas. Sattva, Rajas and Tamas, 3 gunas, permutation, combination, the entire universe of becoming. Not only in the gross, in the subtle level also. There are a punishing world of what you call the downgrade hell, and enjoyable fun and enjoying and this and that to the serenity, to more serenity, like Swami Vivekananda in the plane up where even No ordinary people can give, no gods can enter there. In a higher realm than that, he is steeped in samadhi, almost merging, but not yet merged. Almost merging, not yet merged. So these are different levels. So he says, this entire universe, wherever you go, highest peak to the lowest one of creation, this is made of the three gunas, and also of prakriti, and has several levels of regions. If the yogi is desirous of any of this, like the Brahmaloka or the region of Siddhas, and Siddhas means those who are perfected people, they live in that. So there are similar type of people who have done the spiritual practice and raised their consciousness in such a level, they live there. That's why we want to go to Ramakrishna Loka. Means what? There will be the presence of your mind, will always feel the presence of Ramakrishna, Holy Mother, Vivekananda, Brahmananda, Shivananda, all these luminaries and uplifted souls. And not only that, dancing and singing and joy and blessings is going on as we read in the Gospel and other areas. So that type of experience will happen and he will live in that consciousness. So long he lives in the level of the mind is living in the physical body now, we see this realm of reality. Mind raised into another level of consciousness, you will see the another line. A psychological patients. You go to everyone, some is hallucinating, some is seeing this. Some spiritual people, they are also seeing something. Some divine entities, Mother Durga, some is seeing Kali, some is seeing Christ, some is seeing feeling the presence of the saints. No? So different levels of consciousness. Siddhas. Then he leaves the body alone, the indriyas, organs and manas. So that's the world of becoming, that means this world of becoming, which is the product of the combination of the three gunas. It is nothing but the combination and permutation of these gunas, of the prakriti. It has several levels or regions. Finer level, subtle level. That's why gross, subtle, causal. But in one jump we cannot say this gross to subtle. So there are all infinite number of planes in between gross to subtle. And then subtle to causal. Here is the causal. So in between there will be infinite number of space and experiential areas. And then beyond, when you merge yourself into the Supreme, so who will say what is there? So there is nothing. Nothing, or Vedanta says that is called Brahman. Buddhist will say nothing, Vedantist will say Brahman. If the yogi now desires of any is desirous of any of this, like the Brahmaloka or the region of Siddhas, then he leaves the body along the indriyas, organs and manas. That means they leave their body through the senses. So let us see what senses mean. 23rd verse, 22nd verse says, Jodi proyasa nripa paramesthang vaihayasana bhuta jadviharam astadipattang gunasannivaye sahaiva gachantam indriyasya. It is the plane of the senses. Senses are eyes, ears, nose, perception, sense of perception. The movements of the masters of yogi, who have become subtler than even air, are unrestricted both within and without this cosmic sphere. So the movement of the masters of yoga, those who have done practice of yoga for a long time, they don't live in the physical plane, so live in the mental plane. So they who have become subtler, not this physical, but in the subtle, like our dream. You just compare yourself, then you have a glimpse of that. In dream, we sleep. Suppose 1,000 people are sleeping and 1,000 people are dreaming. Everyone's dream is different, no? In the dream, someone is having fun time. Someone is having terrible fighting going on. Someone is torturing someone. So all this according to the mental condition, each one's mental condition. They are in the different, though apparently their body is in the physical level, their mental level is so. So you can understand that if the mind by spiritual practice, one raises the consciousness. So we may be all the people meditating, but our mind will be in different plateaus. One level to the other level, one dot to the another dot. No? So infinite number of potential possibilities are there. So the movements of the masters of yoga who have become subtler than even air. How they become means they live in that consciousness which is subtler than the air. That means finer. Air is a gross, the air we are breathing is gross air. They are subtle air. No? There you know in the Vedanta Sara, those who have read you will know. Apanchikrita panchabhuta. It's a technical term. Panchikrita means 5 assimilated together. That's all 5 combination. It's khichudi. Air, water, fire, all this mixed together. Maybe, as we say, it is, what did you eat today? People say, I have eaten rice and dal. Even rice and dal, only 2 items you have said, major. In Bengal, people take so much rice. That's why the name comes right. Rice. But not rice only. So many other items there is, they prepare so many 5-10 items, other items. They don't talk about that. Some say, what is the food you ate today? Pasta. Did you eat only pasta? No, we eat some sauces, some this and that. You are not mentioning that. But majority being so people talk about that it is there, the subtle, it becomes the mind, the movement of the masters who have become subtler than the air. This air what we are talking, this physical air is the half of the pure air, subtle, plus 1/8 of fire, 1/8 of subtle water, heat, no? Khiti up this mode. So 4, rest of the 4, 1/8, right? And major is half. As I said, rice, and I ate rice. What did you eat? I took rice today. I took pasta today. You don't take only pasta, you don't take rice only. You go to the hotel and you say, oh, what did you eat? You refer the principal meal, but you have other meals also associated. So similarly, principal air, it is air, physical air, is the combination of major part of is subtle air and the rest of the other parts all combined together creates this physical air. So you now rise into subtle level. So subtle, you live in the level of subtle air, subtle fire, subtle kshiti of this Marud Bampai. So the movements of the masters of yoga, when have become subtler than even the air, that means this body is now heavy, no? But when you live in your mind, nighttime dream, how you weigh? If anyone weighs your dream body, it will be lighter than the air. This air. So that's why they are saying that it will be who become subtler than even the air, are unrestricted both within and without. This cosmic sphere, naturally he can move here, he can move there. If the air can move everywhere. If it is finer than the air, then it can go to Brahmaloka, to Naraloka, to Devaloka, to Pitriloka, all different places it can move according to their own capacity. Those who are devoted to Vedic ritualism, they have done jagna, offering oblation, chanting the Vedic mantras, Vedic hymns, and they offer some Vedic sacrificial fire, then those who are Vedic ritualism can gain the exalted goal of these aspirants who are endowed with knowledge, austerity, yoga and samadhi. So, by those who are doing Vedic ritual, that's why it says, you by jagna you can attain any level you want to go. You can be human, you can be God, you can be demi. You go to the Gandharva loka, Deva loka, Pitri loka, Gandharva loka, any with your own spiritual practice, offering jagnas, oblation to the jagnas. That's why in ancient time, Jagga, it is called the Jagna, that is so popular. You can reach heaven, you can be a king, you can be this. By only performing Jagna, the merit of that Jagna will carry your subtle body into a plane, into that, where you can enjoy what is your cherished desire. So the Vedic ritualism, those who are devoted to the Vedic ritualism, cannot gain the exalted goal of these aspirants who are endowed with the knowledge, austerity, yoga and samadhi. But those who are practicing yoga, those who are practicing austerity, who are practicing samadhi, these ritualistic person cannot reach that, the ultimate. They can reach to go their lower planes, but he cannot reach that plane which is the highest plane of Brahmaloka, because they are talking about Brahmaloka. Passing through the luminous orifice of the Sushumna. Now it is saying that the energy was lifted, no? We are talking about how to meditate in that chapter. It is going higher and higher from the chakra to chakra to chakra and came to the crown chakra. And then passing through the luminous orifice of the Sushumna, this is the Sushumna, and traveling the path of Brahman in the spiritual firmament, the liberated jiva of the latter type first attains the sphere of Agni. These are, you have to believe it. How will you know? Wow, you may question, how did you go? Because when they leave the body, they are saying, because it is yogis, they have their control, and their Brahmaloka, it's penetrating the crown chakra, then the subtle body, it goes up. When? That they traversing the path of Brahman, because they thought, so much control, how did it come? That they thought day and night of Brahman. That's why it didn't go to all the other organs and other areas and restraining in every corner. The body is lifted, uplifted, the subtle body of the soul is gone. In the spiritual firmament, so traversing the path of Brahman, the liberated jiva, this is not ordinary people, those people who have so much merit that they have liberated themselves by their spiritual practice. The liberated jiva of the latter type first attains the sphere of Agni. How it goes? It is the Agni Loka, you can say, the sphere of Agni. Freed from all impurities caused by desires. As soon as you go, fire kills, destroys all types of dross. So being freed from all impurities caused by the desires, he then attains to the luminous Sushumna sphere, or the sphere of, I don't know, the sphere of the shape of a crocodile. There is a sphere. We have to hear, I cannot explain, because only the yogis who can go, they can describe, no? Of Sri Hari. So they reach the plane of Sri Hari, that is the sphere, Sushumna sphere of Lord God, the ultimate. Hari. This book is talking about Hari, the Narayana, the Lord of the universe, who is also called as Krishna, incarnated Krishna. So they go into that plane of Hari. Sri Hari. Transcending this Sushumna sphere, which is like a hub of the universe. He attains to an extremely subtle body, which is unaccompanied by any deity. He attains to Mahaloka, Maha, which is the most venerated abode of those who contemplate on Brahman. So those who are thinking, I am Brahman, etc., day and night, they are talking about their journey. They have been liberated here. How their soul gets merged into Brahman, this description is given. So it is only, you cannot challenge why, what. It is not the why, what. It is the way it happens. And where the sages like Bhrigu with their lifespan of eons abide. So you go to reach that plane where the sages like Bhrigu, they live their lifespan of thousands and thousands of years there. Because it is not merged yet to the Brahman, but it is only journey they are talking, how the journey, mind is becoming subtler and subtler, and he has been freed from all attachment of the world. Now it goes. We only hear that Mar came to Buddha at the last point. Only one word. Which level, which sphere, we do not know. Probably they are describing little further details of this journey. When the time of Naimittaka Pralaya, they live there for a long period for joy, and Naimittika Pralaya, Pralaya means dissolution, Naimittika means intermittent. This world goes into, how many times the world has been destroyed and again it came in the same creation, in this earth, planet earth. Historically, if we hear, oh, it was all flooded, all covered with this, all the animals died, and then again creation started. So it is called intermittent pralaya, intermittent dissolution of the fiery heat emanating from the mouth of the Adisesho, burns up all the three worlds. The yogi, halting at Tapoloka, leave it and migrate to the still subtler and more transcending region of Brahma, which is resorted to be the most highly evolved jivas, and which lasts for two parardhas, that means immense stretch of time, which constitutes the life of a Brahma. We are talking of joy, no? Spiritual life is joy. But how do you know? Here is a joy. And maximum joy, what do you get here? That is the limit. Now your mind traveling by yogic practice, we are saying that this so long in the body, you can feel, you can say, mind has gone up, you good meditation today, you find joy in it. But go to higher and higher and higher. Now, it is not that question. It is the yogi is departing from his body. So as they crossing all the chakras, piercing the Brahmarandra, it becomes lighter. The soul, this body is so heavy, but this mind body is so fine. It is like lighter than the air. It moves on, and it reaches the plane. This is the plane of Srihari. And then the transcending the Sushumna sphere is a hub of the universe, as if the whole universe is rotating from that source. Hub of the universe. He attains to an extremely subtle body, which is unaccompanied, and he reaches there. Who takes him there? No gods and goddesses can go there. It is by own purity, it's by own long practice, it reaches there. Unaccompanied by any deity, he attains the Mahaloka. Bhur Bhuvasva Mahajano Tapa. He's talking about Mahaloka. Mahaloka means above the Bhur Bhuva Swa. Bhuloka means the earth plane. Bhuva is the interspace. Swa is the heaven, normal concept of heaven. Maha is further up. He attains that Mahaloka, which is most venerated abode for them who meditate on Brahman, who contemplate on Brahman. And that plane only, or not ordinary sages can go and stay there. The sages like Bhrigu, with a lifespan of infinite time, eons means thousands and thousands of years, no? When calculation of time expands, so they live there in that abode. When now staying there, and now even the Naimittika Pralaya means intermediate dissolution, when it happens, that means in that time what happens? The fiery heat emanating from the mouth of the Adisesha, Narayana, no? Which lies in the serpent, lying that. It's symbolic that. But this fire which comes out destroys all the desires, burns there all three worlds of the yogis in the three worlds, Bhu, Bhuva, Swa, these three lokas, there burns all these three worlds, the yogis, of the yogis, and the halting at the Tapoloka, Mahajana, Tapoloka. Leave it and migrate to the still subtler and more transcendental region of Brahma, which is resorted to be the most highly evolved jivas and which lasts for true prarabdhas, immense stretch of time, which constitutes the life of Brahma. So these are all concepts of longer joy, higher joy, greater joy, prolonged joy, no? That's why in the Anandavalli, it has been of the Brihadaranyaka Upanishad. It says, the joy one young man gets here is multiplied by 1,000 times. Suppose that joy which one young man with a good health and enjoys the world, suppose he has become the emperor of the whole world, think how much joy, multiplied 1,000 times, multiplied 1,000 times. So there is a calculation they have given. This is only indication. The joy is becoming bigger, so vaster, and people get stuck there. Because suppose you suddenly become billionaire, what will you do? And you billion, then you suddenly become trillion. Then trillionaire, you do not know how to spend the money. That's why yogis who do austerity and then they can stay there, withstand, no? You have that guts like that. Princely people can enjoy, no? We are hearing that our Swami Ishatmananda went to the Arab countries and he was invited for some interfaith meeting in the, what is called, whose? Riyadh, Saudi Arabia. It's a remarkable story. He was invited. And he was talking about the the food, the amenities, the things they eat, the things they use for their food and for their dress and things. By God, gorgeous and so fine and so nice. And you cannot think of a little bit in any five-star hotel that. So there is another, but those people who live there every day, that is common for them. But you got greater and greater and greater. That's why people all are expecting to go to heaven. Because this joy is limited, there will be long joy. So not that is not infinite actually. Go more and more and more and more. So yogic practice, yogis go to higher and higher. So there is no sorrow in that realm of Brahman, no decrepitude of old age, no death, no kind of suffering, except the one painful feeling, namely the sorrow which arises from sympathy for the jivas subject to endless suffering due to their non-understanding the merits of the divine service. It is such a high flight. That's why it is called the Buddha, state of Buddha. Buddha is a state. They could merge into the absolute, totally. But still they keep a little trace of their ego. What is the purpose? They keep a desire. What is the desire? Desire is no kind of suffering or any painful feeling. The sorrows which arise, only they also suffer. Even in that state, what? That suffering for all humankind. That's why there's a place from where avatars come. Or you can say the special Adhikarika Purusha we hear in the Ramakrishna's great master or the divine play. So it is a sphere, higher and higher and higher a sphere, where they don't have any need for themselves. There is all their sufferings gone, all their pain, anguish, everything gone. They are established into the endless joy. But still, they are not loss of pain. If they, in that state, that pain does not remain in their heart. Pain to redeem the world, the sufferings of the world. That's why Shankaracharya said, Sacha Bhagavan, though he is ajo, birthless, abhaya, there is no decay or loss in it. Ajo pishan abhayatma, bhutanam ishvara. He is the Lord of the universe. He does not need anything. But bhutanu jigrikshaya, to help the bhuta, created being, out of infinite compassion for them, feeling their suffering, they incarnate. So Adhikari Purusha also, they bring their associates. He comes, God himself comes and keeps these people to be in that plane, not allow them to merge. Like Swami Vivekananda was willing to get into Samadhi, and Ramakrishna said, no, you will have to do mother's work. And he is trying to go to Samadhi, he can go it, but he will not allow. And said, until you finish my mother's work, you will have to do all this. So that is the point, that he feels the compassion, the pain. There is a pain, but that pain is not for anything for his own. He has accomplished everything. A little trace of duality remains, and that duality, out of infinite compassion for the seeing the pain, they feel, oh, these people are suffering so much, let me do something. Swami Vivekananda said, I shall be born again and again to remove the suffering of even one person in the world, no? Even a dog, if he has their...
understand that the person is one with the...
even the dog, suffering of the humanity, that's the part. So that means these yogis transcend in different spheres, goes to the plane, what we understand, that Ramakrishna in the Gospel and other place says, that it is called the merger before the Brahman, merging with the Brahman, not in that state, little trace. So that's why he called, where Ramakrishna is to stay in this age. On that side is infinite, and this side is the becoming, the world, level of world, grows and grosser and grosser and grosser, or from this side, subtler and subtler and subtler and subtler. This is the age of all subtleties. Brahma Loka. It is a loka means sphere. So it is a sphere of Brahman. That means not Brahman. You are talking about sphere. Little trace of pure ego. And that ego of compassion, the ego of feeling the pain for the suffering humanity remains. Anyhow, this is just to know what happens. How the yogi passes beyond Brahmanda. How did it go? Again, the verse 28. So the 28th verse says, how the yogi who has attained to the Brahmaloka, this plane, which is the highest state of Brahmanda, the shell-enfolded universe. That means the whole universe you are talking about, it is in the universe of duality, transcending, 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 and going to the last phase. Ramakrishna, it is called the Bhava Mukha, in that last state. How the yogi who has attained to this Brahmaloka, which is the highest state of Brahmanda, goes beyond it now, is described. Now they are talking about how it goes beyond that. All the categories evolved from Prakriti constitute these cells, and the yogi passes from the grosser to the subtler through the identification with each. So this description they have given, yogis practice and raises their consciousness like hiking. You go from the ground and go up, hike little up, one level, stay up to that level, enjoy the vista and experience and stabilize yourself. You go to Kailas, you will be going like this, one step, one night, another flight, another night, 2 nights, 3 nights, no? Enjoy that plane and then go. So each flight has its own charm, own beauty, vaster experience of joy. Ultimately you went to the Brahmaloka, but how will you be penetrating that also? So that is described here. All the categories that is evolved from Prakriti constitutes these cells, and the yogi passes from the grosser to the subtler to the identification with each. They identify, I'll go to heaven and do that all karma and everything, they reach there. Then say, no, I go to next higher plane. So they do again japa, their austerity practice, etc. And they also practice detachment. The detachment for other things, otherwise they cannot go. Mind will pull them. So Buddha saw the Mar, but Mar could not do anything. Christ also, last temptation, they call. This temptation grossly they describe. How they will describe this subtle and see how difficult the language. Language is always complicated and we have no idea about that. So that's why saying they'll give up that gross to subtler and subtler, and then they're staying in Brahmaloka. And then from there, the untouched by any element of fear, he with his linga sharira, subtle body, because that time mind is still there, attains to oneness with the earth, Prithvi element. It gets, Baba, we don't understand what they're talking about, no? Just imagine, Prithvi element means element of the earth. From that, which is called the water, gross, earth is more gross, then subtler is the water. The water's origin, earth's origin, that means the 5 elements, they're not their gross form, subtler from form of, which came from Brahman only. All the qualities came from them. So going back to the source, we came back this way down, and we are here now. Now it is the journey back. Which is the cause of the water element, and from that water element, which is called fire element, And from that fire element to the wind element. Fire is restricted, no? Wind is much bigger because, look at the earth. If fire happens in one place, two places, but how much is the air? Air is everywhere. So it is bigger. That means subtler means vaster. And from that fire element to the space, akasa element, which is a symbol of the all-pervading Brahman. Akasa is the closest example of Brahman is the akasa. People give the example, God is like space everywhere. To indicate everywhere, so look at that. Air is limited along the earth, no? And then air element to the fire element to the air element, and from that element space. In the space, all the stars and galaxies and everything is there. How big is that? So that sphere is increasing, expanding in dimension, which is symbol of all pervading. Almost akasa, so that's why it is example. Normally in Vedanta books, they give two examples. One, they give the space example, or earlier they give the example of the ocean. We are too limited. What shall we think of big expanse of reality? But it is the gross to subtle they go. Now how the yogi transcends the subtle aspect of elements, out of which are formed the objects of the senses, is now stated. Now, how the senses are also made of the five elements, and these are the five elements in the external world. How the senses can help us to go beyond all this realm of five elements. That is described here. The sense of smell, it dissolves in the subtle element smell. The sense of taste, in the subtle element of taste. The sense of sight, in the form. Sight is related to the form. You see some form, then your sight, eye, works. So in the sense of touch, in the tactile element, the sense of hearing in the sound element, and the organs of actions in their respective functions. So you retrace them back. The eyes, a sense of smell is dissolved in the subtle element smell. So this is the smell, you get the fragrance, perfume. It is so subtle. Can you go to the root of that smell? So yogis can go that. Tanmatra or beyond Tanmatra, I do not know what level they are talking about. Just to understand subtler, you have to how to, eyes are seeing, you have to go to the root of the eye to eye. Manaso manojat, chakshushas chakshu is the eye of the real eye. Real eye, it is the eye. So go back from here to the real eye. Go back from the hearing to the real root of its sound symbol. No? So all the five senses are to be brought back to the root of them. The senses of taste, the smell element taste, the subtle element taste, the sense of sight in the form, the sense of touch in tactile elements, the sense of hearing in the sound element, and organs of action. In their organs of actions, in their respective hand, feet, etc., in their respective functions. Next, how the yogi transcend still higher categories is now described. The yogi dissolves the bhuta suksmas, subtle aspects of the element, in their sources. That means it is going back. It is a product. So we are in the product level. withdraw the mind from which it is coming. That's why the language is the bhuta suksma, suksma bhutas, subtle elements, in their source. Gross element we talked about, gross element coming of the subtle element. Now subtle element should have its source. Push them back to its source. Subtle element to its source. The tamas aspect, ahankara. What is that? That is the ego. That means ego, so for us it is so fine, but it is gross in the eyes of the experience. This ego, our little ego, petty ego, identified with the five senses and five senses of action and five senses of perception. So they are saying, bring them back to its source, bring them back to its source. And then ultimately it comes to the ego. The organs in there, ego organs in their source. The mind and the presiding deities in their source. So, but ahankara has three types of ahankara. Sattvika ahankara, rajasa ahankara, and tamasa. So he says, the tamasa aspect of ahankara, where when the yogis dissolve the bhuta suksmas, suksma bhutas, subtle element, it brings back to its ahankara, ego, source, but that is called the tamasa ahankara. Now the organs in their source to rajasa ahankara, the mind and its presiding deities in their source of sattvika ahankara. See how we are going back. We know that are annamaya, pranamaya, manomaya, vijnanamaya, anandamaya. So anandamaya is the ego body, ego, I. I has three aspects, sattvika, rajasika, tamasika. What is the tamasika? Tamasa ego is the bhutas, five elements, withdrawn into the subtle cause. That is the tamasa ahankara. And then ahankara is rajasa ahankara, ahankara is sattvika ahankara. Three types of, and then total we call the ego. So the organs is our five sense organs. Organs are to be brought to the sources. Rajasa, organ means organ of action, etc. It is rajasic. So it is coming from the rajasa ahankara. The mind and the presiding deities, mind is subtler. That's why mind is called the 11th organ. Five sense organ of perception, five organs of action, and all are controlled by mind. If the mind is not there, hand cannot function. Eyes cannot see. Eyes see, but does not see. Ear, hear, but does not hear. So the mind then going back to the sattvika ahankara. So mind going to the sattvika ahankara, the sense organs going back, that is the rajasa ahankara, and the subtle aspects of the elements, five elements, panchabhuta, they go trace back to the tamasa ahankara. So ahankara divided into three, sattva, rajas and tamas. Baba. It is a bhakti book.
Sankhya book.
More than Sankhya book.
But there is no imagination of all this stuff, right?
No, imagination.
It's an imagination.
No, this is our imagination because we have no concept. But who is saying? They are rishis. It is who is saying? Shukadeva is saying. Shukadeva is born Brahmajnani. So, big scientist, the greatest scientists.
He's telling this for lower level, not his level people.
But he is telling us to give us an idea, no? As we told about that, the Swami went to Saudi Arabia, no? And he was entertained in which way they are describing. So what do you understand? Wow. Do you understand that what he has experienced? But people like us will get a glimpse of that understanding. That's why this description. Thakur tried to say and his mouth becomes subtle. He cannot speak. Okay, so then he dissolves in the ahankara, in its cause, the Mahatattva in the gunas, and the gunas in the prakriti. So they are merging into Mahatattva to prakriti. It is Sankhya philosophy. If you keep the mind in Sankhya philosophy, how it is, everything is merging and merging. Dissolved in the prakriti, he becomes clothed with bliss. Prakriti laya. Sankhya philosophy says prakriti layanam. Prakriti laya people who get merged into prakriti. These are the people, so withdrawing like that, they go into the sattika, rajasika, tamasika ego, and then that goes to the root, what is called the prakriti, and dissolve that prakriti, he becomes clothed. He becomes in subtle level that he sees nothing but bliss all around. With bliss, and then abandoning all adjuncts, he becomes one in nature with the self capital, which is utter peace and bliss. So there he becomes absolutely individual soul, merging in that level, become established in perfect peace and bliss. O dear one, he who goes along the path leading to the Lord never returns to the lower sphere. If one can go penetrating the spheres and spheres and spheres, reach that level, he cannot come back again. O king, these are the two paths of spiritual progress, eternal, spoken in the Vedas, of which you wanted to know. First is the path of immediate salvation, and the other is the gradual salvation. You reach that point, how you go? Immediate, here itself. Or it may be gradual. You have come to higher plateau, stay there, enjoy that experience. From there, you go higher and higher and higher experience. Bhagavan Vasudeva himself revealed this to Brahma. You may say, hey, how do you say all this? It's only Bhagavan Vasudeva, the Bhagavan Krishna, has himself revealed this knowledge to Brahma, who worshipped him with great devotion in ancient times. This book is Vishnu book, so naturally Brahma should request, fall at the feet of Vishnu, or Shiva, all will have to come under Vishnu. That's it, to give us the good taste of devotional attitude to bring. There is no other path of spiritual fulfillment so easy and safe for being caught up in samsara as the path of devotion to the Lord. For Brahma himself impartially scrutinized the Vedas thrice with deep concern, concentration, and the conclusion he arrived at was that the most efficient means of spiritual evolution is that what generates intense devotion to Hari. Yogis go this way, but by law, by devotional practice, you can reach there. So I can end here. It's up to verse number 34 on page 102. Verse number 34. 22 to 34. Only 10 verses. Okay? So I don't ask questions because I do not know all these. These are all the Bhagavat says. I am just reading it. The yogis who practice, how they transcend one plane to the other plane to the other plane. Really, how do we know? Without practicing, we cannot meditate a little bit. And this, what happens, it goes to the plane and leaving this plane and higher plane to the three gunas, how the three gunas are merging into it, and how the tapasya, austerity, spiritual practice lead the yogis with the yoga controlling this. They go to the sphere to sphere like that. But all this can be loved by only calling upon God. This is the beauty of this book. The yogic path is so serious and difficult. But you just cry to God. Take the name of Hari, by His grace it will happen. Ramakrishna, that's why he said, if you can cry for God. People are doing pranayama, kumbhaka. Pranayama, because of pranayama, the body can be made such that you stand still, it will be like no breath. Kumbhaka means breathing air is arrested. That means dead body. Dead body has no more any breathing goes. That's why he has left the body. But yogis remaining in the body can arrest the flow of the breathing and stay almost. Ramakrishna, by simple sheer mind moving into samadhi, his body, the breath stops. Doctors don't feel the pulse with a stethoscope. No, everything is gone, like a dead body. Kumbhak. She says, Ramakrishna said, if one can cry for God, love God with whole heart and soul, and cry, this will happen spontaneously. You need not have to do all this breathing exercise and go for how many inches here, how many inches here, and all this measurement and thing. All this mind to withdraw from here to there to there. Love God. That is Ramakrishna. Na? That is here we are coming to that point. They are all things true. Yogi can go that way. Let them choice. But you as a bhakta, you can also reach the same destination by simply, sincerely calling upon God and loving God to the full extent. Okay? Okay. No question is good for me. I do not know much of this journey. So what shall I say? Like that Thakur said, no? There's someone is saying, I had my uncle's house. We have many horses in the cowshed. We have many horses. And they live in the cowshed of my uncle. That means he has no idea how big is the horses, and horse can be needed, what type of room is needed to accommodate them. That means he has no concept. So he's talking. So most of us like that. Because particularly these areas, how the mind goes to the sukshma, to the elemental state, and elemental state to the finer element, and there to the mahat tattva like this. Ahankar tattva, ahankaro, sattika ahankara, so how much mind is merging in there, and that is called the rajasa ahankara. So we'll read next day from 35 verse of the 2 to 35. No, 34, sorry. 2 to 34. Om Shanti, 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 Harihi Om Tat Sat, Sri Ram Krishna Arpanamastu. So, hope to see you 30 for the Shanti Gita class. Thanks for those who join in line, and thanks for all of you who are here. My God. Okay, Jai Jai.